Into the wild. The moment you realize you're not alone. The forest at dusk is no longer just trees and shadows, it's alive. Every rustle, every distant snap of a branch carries meaning. The wind whistles differently here. It whispers secrets you were never meant to hear. You think you are alone, but the eyes watching you, the creatures moving just beyond the edge of your sight, know you are there. A wolf, a coyote, or even a roaming wild canine has sensed you. They do not stumble by accident. They hunt with intention, calculation, patience. You've walked these trails countless times, or maybe it's your first day. But the moment you step off the beaten path, you enter a theater of life and death that has existed long before humans built cities. The forest is a world ruled by instinct, intelligence, and survival. You hear the distant howl, low and mournful, and your heartbeat begins to pound. Not out of fear alone, but out of recognition. In this world, one mistake can end everything. Every step matters. Every motion you make, even the smallest twitch, sends signals to predators. They read your body language, your micro movements, even your breath. Are you tense? Are you uncertain? Are you panicking? A wild animal senses it immediately. Your training, if you have any, matters. But more than that, your awareness, your patience, and your ability to control fear are what will decide whether you survive. Imagine the coyote creeping through the underbrush, its amber eyes fixed, calculating. It is not just hunting for food. It is evaluating you, testing you. Coyotes are clever, adaptive, and surprisingly fearless when they sense weakness. They move silently, using every shadow and every rustle to their advantage. And then there is the moment of confrontation. You realize that running is not an option. Running triggers the chase instinct, the predator's excitement. Your only chance is understanding, strategy, and calm. Let's go deeper. To survive, you must recognize the subtle cues of wildlife behavior. The way ears twitch, the way muscles flex, the posture that signals intent. A coyote doesn't attack blindly. It probes, it observes, it decides. You must learn to speak its silent language, through stillness, through controlled breathing, through posture that communicates dominance without aggression. Your mind races. You recall every survival tip you've read or heard. Avoid eye contact. Appear larger. Slowly back away. But the real test is improvisation, adaptation, understanding that the forest and its creatures do not follow human rules. A snapped twig, a dropped backpack, even your own fear-stained scent can betray you. And this is where most humans fail. Panic. Hesitation. The split-second decisions that feel insignificant can cascade into catastrophe. You have seconds, not minutes, to establish the narrative of who controls this encounter. Do you assert dominance subtly? Do you negotiate through behavior? Or do you falter and give the predator its advantage? This is not a story of luck. Survival here is about awareness, psychology, and discipline. Every instinct you suppress, every strategic choice you make, determines the outcome. The forest is a silent teacher, the coyote, a cunning professor, and you, the human, must learn fast. By the end of this guide, you will understand that these encounters are not random. They are negotiations. And survival is a language that only a few learn to speak fluently. Stay calm, stay strategic, stay alive. You think you're alone, but you're not. The coyote, or any wild canine, is watching, calculating, analyzing. Every movement, every micro-expression, every shift in your weight communicates a story you didn't intend to tell. Survival begins with reading the predator and reading yourself. Coyotes are not mindless hunters. They are observant strategists. Their eyes flick constantly, scanning for weakness, indecision, and fear. They notice the slightest imbalance in your gait, the micro-tension in your shoulders, the shallow, quick breaths betraying your anxiety. They are experts in body language, and they can tell in an instant if you are prey or if you might challenge them. This is why panicking is the single most dangerous thing you can do. When humans panic, they make mistakes. They run, they flail, they shout. Every erratic movement amplifies the predator's confidence. Coyotes interpret panic as vulnerability. Even a small misstep, A dropped water bottle, a snapped branch, a sudden glance over your shoulder can trigger an instinctive chase response. Now imagine yourself standing still, calm, measured, every breath controlled, every motion intentional. You make yourself appear larger, your movements slow and deliberate. You exude confidence without aggression. You are no longer prey. You are a calculated presence in their environment. This is where most survival guides fail. They teach you how to react, but not how to think. It's a psychological chess game. Coyotes are testing your decisions. Will you flee? Will you fight? Will you hesitate? The answer determines everything. Practical steps. Control your breathing. Slow, deep breaths signal composure. Establish your space. Use your body, sticks, or backpacks to create a buffer zone. Avoid direct confrontation at first. Coyotes rarely attack unless provoked or cornered. Maintain eye awareness. Direct eye contact without aggression communicates confidence. Speak softly or make controlled noise. Not screaming, not shouting wildly, but deliberate sounds can confuse or deter the predator. Stories from survivors reinforce this. Hikers who froze, who moved carefully, who respected the animal's territory, walked away unharmed. Others who rushed or panicked suffered bites, attacks, or prolonged chases. In every case, calm, strategic behavior was the difference between life and injury. Coyotes, like many predators, hunt out of need but also out of opportunity. If they sense hesitation or weakness, they will exploit it. If they perceive control and composure, they hesitate, sometimes even retreat. Understanding their psychology is as critical as understanding your environment. Your survival is not just physical, it's mental. It's a negotiation where every choice, every micro decision has consequences. You must act decisively but thoughtfully. You must communicate with the predator without words, with posture, presence, and precision. By the end of this guide, you will see encounters with wild canines are not random attacks. They are tests, and those who survive are not the strongest or the fastest. They are the ones who understand, observe, and act strategically. Imagine walking along a dim forest trail at dusk. The light fades, shadows stretch across the ground, and the sound of leaves rustling underfoot is magnified in your ears. Somewhere nearby, eyes are watching you. The rustle is not just the wind, it's the subtle movement of a coyote. You are not alone. Several hikers have told their stories, how the instinct to run almost cost them their lives. One hiker, a young man with a backpack and hiking poles, stepped off the path to take a photo. He froze when a pair of eyes glimmered between the trees. In that moment, his mind raced. Should he climb a tree, shout, or slowly back away? His hands shook, but he remembered the survival principle. Calmness equals control. He raised his arm slowly, made himself appear larger, and spoke in a steady, low voice. The coyote paused, tilted its head, and after a tense minute, retreated into the shadows. That minute felt like an eternity, but the lesson was clear. How you respond matters more than what happens first. Another example. A woman hiking with her dog noticed movement near the creek. Her dog barked, and two coyotes emerged from the underbrush. Panic could have made her run, but instead she leaned into controlled intimidation. She kept her dog close, moved deliberately toward higher ground, and used a whistle with short, sharp bursts. The coyotes hesitated and eventually retreated, avoiding confrontation entirely. These encounters reveal a pattern. Coyotes are opportunistic, but also intelligent. They read your energy, your hesitation, your confidence. They are not mindless predators, they are adaptive strategists. Micro cues you give off. Rapid, shallow breathing, ox, panic, sudden movements, rex, prey signal, avoiding eye contact, rect, submission, hesitation, vulnerability, effective strategies. 1. Stand tall and appear large. Raise your arms, spread your jacket, use poles or sticks. 2. Do not turn your back. Slowly retreat if needed, but face the predator. 3. Create noise strategically. Whistles, claps, or speaking calmly signal confidence without provoking attack. 4. Use barriers if available. Trees, rocks, backpacks, anything to block or distance the predator. 5. Avoid. Isolation. Coyotes are less likely to approach groups. Beyond tactics, the psychological game is vital. Coyotes test you first, sometimes with a slow approach, a circling movement, or a low growl. They assess your behavior before committing. By projecting control, you communicate that you are not prey, that you are a challenge, not a target. Even when attacks occur, preparation saves lives. Understanding first aid, keeping a survival kit, and knowing escape routes can turn a dangerous encounter into a controlled retreat. Stories abound of hikers who, armed with knowledge and calm presence, avoided serious injury, where others, panicking, suffered bites, scratches, or worse. The forest is alive with eyes, ears, and instincts. Every rustle, every shadow is a communication. The animals are telling you something, and your survival depends on listening, understanding, and responding intelligently. By the end of Part 3, you see clearly. Survival is more than skill. It is awareness, composure, and adaptability. The coyote is not just a threat. It is a mirror reflecting your ability to control fear, make precise decisions, and negotiate life in the wild. Coyotes are not merely wild dogs. They are adaptive, intelligent predators capable of assessing threats, reading body language, and making calculated decisions. Unlike some predators that rely solely on instinct, coyotes constantly analyze their environment and the behavior of potential prey. For humans, this means survival is a game of perception, strategy, and psychological mastery. Consider this. A coyote observes a hiker from 100 meters away. The hiker stops, fumbles with a camera, takes a sudden step, and trips over a root. The coyote interprets these micro-cues immediately. Hesitation, imbalance, distraction. These are signals of vulnerability. A bold, aware hiker, by contrast, radiates confidence, even when internally scared. The predator senses this confidence and often avoids confrontation altogether. Key lessons from coyotes for survival. 1. Patience over impulsivity. Coyotes rarely rush their actions. They watch, wait, and then act. Humans, by contrast, often panic. Slow, deliberate movements, measured breathing, and conscious decision-making mirror the coyote's approach, making you less likely to trigger aggression. 2. Assess risk continuously. Every step, every movement in the wild should be evaluated. Are you near a den? Is your path predictable? Coyotes are opportunists. Awareness of surroundings reduces surprises. 3. Control your energy. Panic is a scent and a sound. Fast, erratic movements can mimic prey behavior. Calm, steady motions, even if your heart is racing, convey strength and control. Coyotes respond to signals, not words. 4. Signal dominance without confrontation. Displaying size, making noise strategically, and holding your ground can prevent escalation. This mirrors natural coyote behavior. They often bluff before striking. Understanding and replicating this principle is life-saving. 5. Escape planning is strategic, not reactive. Having exit routes, safe zones, and tools at hand ensures that if a confrontation is unavoidable, you are prepared. Retreat is not defeat. It is a calculated tactic to preserve life. Real-world encounters highlight these principles. A solo camper in the Rocky Mountains reported seeing a coyote circling his campsite at night. Instead of running or screaming, he lit a lantern, stood tall, and made deliberate hand movements. The coyote lingered, then retreated. In his own words, it felt like a negotiation. One wrong step, and it could have ended badly. Another hiker experienced a near attack on a remote trail. His dog barked, and a pair of coyotes emerged from the underbrush. He remained composed, used the dog as a barrier, and backed away slowly while maintaining eye contact. By the time he reached a safer clearing, the coyotes had disappeared. The lesson: control and awareness outweigh physical strength. Coyotes, as intelligent predators, also teach humans the importance of adaptation. They adjust hunting strategies based on terrain, prey behavior, and seasonal changes. Humans in the wild must do the same. Adapt clothing, equipment, and movement strategies according to weather, terrain, and wildlife activity. Ignoring these lessons often leads to danger. Moreover, understanding animal psychology allows humans to predict and preempt aggressive behavior. Coyotes rely on body language to assess threats. Humans, consciously or unconsciously, give off signals: fear, hesitation, distraction. Recognizing your own micro cues is critical. Breathing techniques, deliberate steps, and posture control are as important as any survival tool. Mental preparation is as crucial as physical readiness. Fear is natural, but panic is lethal. Training yourself to remain calm under stress, to interpret wildlife behavior accurately, and to respond strategically can mean the difference between a minor encounter and a deadly one. Every hiker, camper, or explorer must treat the wilderness as a high-stakes negotiation. The predator is not irrational. It calculates, evaluates, and acts with precision. The human must do the same. By the end of Part 4, it becomes clear. Surviving a coyote encounter is not about running, fighting, or hoping for luck. It is about understanding, strategy, and psychological mastery. Every decision, every motion, every breath can alter the outcome. The forest is not merely a backdrop. It is a complex ecosystem, where awareness and intellect are the ultimate tools for survival. The forest at night is not silent. Every rustle, snap, and whisper carries a story. A predator, a prey, or the wind playing tricks. Understanding the terrain and leveraging tools are crucial survival skills. Humans often underestimate how much the environment itself can dictate outcomes during encounters with wildlife. Coyotes, wolves, and other predators are intimately aware of their surroundings. For humans, survival hinges on matching that awareness. 1. Terrain. Awareness. The forest is full of hazards: uneven ground, hidden water, unstable logs, and thick underbrush. Predators exploit these to their advantage. Being aware of your surroundings means identifying high ground. Coyotes prefer flat, unobstructed paths for speed. Standing on elevated terrain gives a strategic advantage. Spotting escape routes. Always note potential paths. Streams, ridges, or clearings can serve as natural barriers between you and a predator. Recognizing predator signs, tracks, scat, broken branches, and disturbed foliage indicate nearby animals. Reading these signs is essential. Case study. A hiker in the Pacific Northwest noticed fresh coyote tracks around his campsite. Instead of panicking, he altered his route, climbed a ridge for visibility, and avoided the open valley below. Coyotes passed beneath him without noticing. Awareness turned a potential encounter into a non-event. 2. Improvised tools for defense and signaling. Humans are not as fast or strong as wild predators, but we have creativity and tools. Improvised items can shift the balance. Branches and sticks. A long branch can serve as a deterrent, extending your reach and making you appear larger. Whistles, air horns, or claps. Loud, unexpected noise can startle a predator and disrupt its assessment. Fire and light. Candles, torches, or flashlights can disorient nocturnal animals and provide a psychological edge. Coyotes may retreat if they feel their environment is compromised. Dogs as allies. A well-trained dog can act as both warning system and physical barrier. Coyotes often hesitate to approach human-dog pairs. 3. Psychological tactics. Bluffing and dominance. Coyotes assess threats primarily through observation. Your mental state and physical display communicate a lot. Stand tall and hold your ground. Do not crouch or turn your back. Height, posture, and confident movement signal strength. Make deliberate gestures. Raising arms, waving, or moving slowly side to side demonstrates awareness and control. Eye contact. Coyotes interpret eye contact as dominance. Avoid looking away constantly, which signals vulnerability. 4. Emergency survival tools. Preparation is crucial. Always carry a multi-tool or knife for building barriers, digging, or creating makeshift weapons. Rope or cordage can be used for climbing, creating obstacles, or crafting emergency shelters. First aid supplies. Venomous bites, scratches, or infections can escalate quickly in the wild. Immediate treatment is key. Signaling devices, mirrors, flares, or whistles to alert rescuers in remote regions. 5. Stories of close encounters. The camper in Idaho. A solitary camper awoke to the sound of coyotes approaching his tent. Instead of fleeing blindly, he remained calm, activated a small campfire, and made controlled, loud gestures. Coyotes investigated but ultimately retreated. The camper survived not because he was stronger, but because he understood predator psychology. The researcher in Arizona. Tracking wildlife at night, she startled a coyote near a water source. She froze, maintained eye contact, and spoke in calm, measured tones. Coyotes, uncertain about her status, backed away. This encounter emphasized that calm, controlled behavior is often more effective than aggression. 6. Navigation and strategic movement in the wild is not just about distance, it is about positioning. Coyotes prefer predictable paths. Randomized routes, zigzags, and varying pace can confuse them. Traveling near natural barriers, rivers, ridges, dense forests, can reduce risk. Knowing when to move, when to wait, and how to minimize exposure can prevent escalation. 7. Night survival. Most predators become more active at night. Preparing for nocturnal encounters means limiting unnecessary movement after dark, using artificial light strategically. Brief flashes can deter predators without drawing excessive attention. Understanding auditory cues, rustling leaves, distant howls, or snapping branches often indicate presence. By mastering these strategies, humans can operate safely in environments where predators reign. Survival is not luck. It is preparation, awareness, and psychological mastery. Every movement, tool, and decision carries weight. The wilderness does not wait. Storms roll in without warning. Temperatures swing violently, and injuries can happen in a heartbeat. Surviving in the wild is not just a matter of avoiding predators. It's a test of endurance, mental fortitude, and adaptability. Every decision matters. Hesitation can be fatal. 1. Weather awareness. Weather can be as dangerous as any predator. Snowstorms, heavy rain, or intense heat drastically change survival tactics. Knowing how to read the skies and predict conditions is crucial. Cloud formations. Dark, fast-moving clouds often indicate incoming storms. Sudden changes in wind direction can signal thunderstorms or heavy rainfall. Temperature drops. In mountainous or forested areas, temperature can drop drastically after sunset. Hypothermia is often underestimated by inexperienced hikers. Signs of lightning risk. Isolated trees, tall structures, and wet open areas increase danger. Avoid high ground during storms and seek natural shelters. Case study. A hiker in the Rockies ignored rising clouds and found herself trapped in a blizzard. Without preparation, hypothermia set in rapidly. Those who understood the weather in advance, built insulated shelters, and maintained body heat survived while others were not so lucky. 2. Handling injuries in the wild. Minor injuries can escalate to life-threatening situations. Cuts, sprains, and insect bites are immediate concerns. Untreated wounds risk infection. Field dressing wounds. Clean and cover any open cuts using improvised materials if necessary. Clothing, leaves, or clean cloth. Sprains and fractures. Immobilize using sticks or branches to prevent further injury. Walking on injured limbs can worsen the condition. Insect and animal bites. Identify venomous insects or snakes. Apply pressure to slow venom spread and prioritize reaching medical help. Survival. Tip: always have a first aid kit with antiseptics, bandages, and painkillers. In the absence of a kit, knowledge of natural antiseptics and wound care can be life-saving. 3. Psychological resilience. The mind can be as lethal as the elements themselves. Panic leads to mistakes. Calm thinking leads to survival. Understanding psychology in high-stress environments is key. Fight or flight. Recognize when to stand your ground versus retreat strategically. Coyotes, wolves, or other predators, evaluate your response before attacking. Controlled breathing. Panic can elevate heart rate and reduce mental clarity. Slow, deliberate breaths help maintain composure. Visualization. Mentally rehearsing survival scenarios improves real-life decision-making under stress. 4. Night survival in extreme conditions. Nighttime multiplies risk. Cold, darkness, and limited visibility demand precise planning. Shelter location. Avoid low-lying areas where cold air and water can accumulate. Find sheltered areas near natural barriers. Noise discipline. Predators detect prey not only by sight but by sound. Reduce unnecessary movements and avoid rustling leaves. Thermal conservation. Layer clothing, insulate the ground, and maintain body heat to prevent hypothermia. 5. Hunger and water. Scarcity survival isn't just about avoiding predators, it's about sustaining energy. Water sourcing. Rivers, streams, and rainfall are primary sources. Always purify if possible. In emergencies, snow can be melted for drinking water. Foraging and small game. Understanding edible plants, nuts, and insects can prevent energy depletion. Traps or improvised snares can supplement food sources. Energy management. Movement consumes calories. Conserving energy while remaining alert is a delicate balance. 6. Real-life example of endurance. In the Alaskan wilderness, a group of researchers became separated during a snowstorm. Without proper preparation, 2 succumbed to hypothermia, while another survived 48 hours by. Building a snow shelter. Maintaining core body temperature through movement and insulation. Avoiding panic and conserving energy. Using small streams for hydration. The difference was not luck. It was a combination of knowledge, preparation, and mental discipline. 7. Strategic use of natural barriers. Natural features can protect or trap you. Rivers, cliffs, and dense forests require careful navigation. Rivers. Use crossing points with shallow water and firm footing. Avoid swift currents. They can sweep even experienced swimmers away. Cliffs and ridges. High points provide visibility but increase exposure. Balance risk and reward when choosing vantage points. Dense forests. Offer concealment from predators but reduce mobility. Understand escape routes and potential hazards before entering. Every choice in extreme conditions can dictate survival. The wilderness is a test not of strength alone but of adaptability, knowledge, and presence of mind. Those who prepare, anticipate, and stay calm dramatically increase their chances of emerging alive. The forest at night is alive in ways few humans ever experience. Every rustle, every crack of a twig can signal life or danger. Predators are not mindless killers. They are strategic, patient, and adaptive. Coyotes, wolves, and other wild canines study their environment, pick up cues from their prey, and calculate risk and reward before making a move. Understanding predator behavior is the difference between survival and disaster. Coyotes, for instance, operate in family units with hierarchy and communication. They use scent, sound, and sight to map their territory and assess threats. A single human can seem vulnerable or intimidating depending on posture, noise, and even emotional energy. Predators are masters of observation. They notice subtle changes that humans unconsciously broadcast. Panic, trembling, or erratic movements are invitations to test or attack. Experienced survivalists know this and cultivate calm, deliberate motion, maintaining a presence that signals control and confidence. Movement in the wild is not just locomotion, it is negotiation with the ecosystem. Each step, each pause, each sound contributes to a story predators read. In long-term wilderness exposure, you begin to anticipate animal behavior almost instinctively. Birds will react to unseen threats, small mammals will freeze, and even the wind itself carries information about hidden life. One learned skill is recognizing microcues. A predator does not always approach directly. Coyotes, for example, may circle downwind, pausing, observing, analyzing. Their eyes glint with calculation, not mindless hunger. Understanding these cues allows humans to adjust tactics, moving to higher ground, avoiding isolation, or using natural barriers as protective buffers. Survival is a combination of foresight, observation, and the disciplined execution of decisions. During multi-day excursions, fatigue and hunger amplify the risk of mistakes. Predators can sense weakness. They detect erratic patterns, hesitation, and vulnerability. It is during these moments that survival strategies must be applied consistently, conserving energy while maintaining awareness, choosing safe routes, improvising shelters that minimize exposure, and securing food and water. Improvisation is critical. A fallen tree can serve as a protective barrier. A steep slope can provide a vantage point for monitoring predator movements. A dense thicket can conceal your presence. At the same time, humans must avoid trapping themselves, recognizing when a natural feature is more danger than protection. History is full of cases where those who survived wild encounters did so not through brute strength, but through anticipation, intelligence, and restraint. In one documented case, a lone hiker in the Sierra Nevada survived multiple coyote encounters by maintaining eye contact, using deliberate movement, and backing away slowly while holding a staff for defense. The coyote never attacked directly, respecting signals of awareness and capability. Predators also exploit patterns. They observe routines, wait for lapses in vigilance, and adapt quickly to new information. For humans, varying movement patterns, avoiding predictable behavior, and maintaining camouflage or concealment become vital tactics. This level of awareness is mentally exhausting, yet it trains the mind to remain sharp, present, and attuned to environmental subtleties. Hunger, cold, and fatigue must be managed without panic, because every physiological weakness translates into a cognitive lapse that predators can exploit. Nighttime presents unique challenges. Vision is limited, sounds are amplified, and shadows create illusions of movement. A single misplaced step can alert a predator or trigger injury. Maintaining calm, moving deliberately, and using natural sounds strategically can mislead predators or signal your awareness, discouraging pursuit. Extended exposure in predator territory also teaches the importance of observation over reaction. Not every noise demands attention. The experienced survivalist distinguishes threats from background activity, conserving energy and focus for genuine danger. In these conditions, mental resilience becomes as crucial as physical capability. Anxiety and fear are natural but must be harnessed into caution rather than panic. Psychological endurance is often the deciding factor between life and death in encounters with wild predators. By the end of long wilderness experience, humans develop a rhythm with the environment. Movements become subtle negotiations with the unseen life around them. Animals are not obstacles. They are participants in a complex ecological dialogue where respect, awareness, and strategy dictate outcomes. Mastery of these principles allows humans not only to survive but to thrive, navigating rivers, forests, and mountains with calculated confidence, even when surrounded by predators at their peak vigilance. The wilderness, once threatening and unknowable, transforms into a landscape of possibility where knowledge, patience, and psychological discipline become your greatest tools. And every step, every breath, every decision is a part of the story of survival, courage, and respect for the natural order. Night in the wilderness is an entirely different world. Darkness transforms familiar terrain into a maze of shadows, shapes, and sounds that challenge even the most experienced survivalist. Every movement is amplified. Every snap of a twig can be perceived as a predator stalking, and every rustle in the leaves carries the weight of unseen eyes observing you. Predators thrive in this environment, using nocturnal adaptations to exploit limitations in human senses. Owls, wolves, coyotes, and nocturnal mammals rely on exceptional hearing, acute sense of smell, and stealthy movement. Their world operates on a level humans cannot instinctively perceive. For someone unprepared, panic is immediate and instinctual. But for a trained mind, the night becomes a classroom, teaching lessons in patience, observation, and strategic decision-making. Surviving the night requires mastery over fear. Fear is not just an emotion. It is a signal that triggers instinctual responses like fleeing or freezing, which can inadvertently attract predators rather than repel them. The key is learning to interpret fear as information rather than a command. Recognizing physiological signs of panic, racing heart, shallow breathing, trembling muscles, allows a person to convert energy into focused, deliberate action. Movement must be calculated. Rushing through the underbrush creates noise, disturbs potential cover, and signals presence to predators who interpret such signals with precision. Slow, purposeful movement paired with pauses for observation creates a balance between forward progress and environmental awareness. Shadows are both ally and enemy. Low light can conceal your location if you stay still and move cautiously, but shadows can also distort distance and direction, creating illusions of predators where none exist, or masking predators approaching from angles you might not expect. The night teaches humans to rely on senses beyond sight. The brush of wind against the skin, changes in temperature, the scent of disturbed soil. Subtle differences in animal calls. Even the rhythm of insects. Each detail is a data point to interpret, analyze, and respond to. Communication with nature becomes silent. Dropped leaves, cracked branches, or disturbed snow can alert predators to your presence. Learning to minimize such disruptions while maintaining mobility is crucial. Improvised pathways. Stepping on rocks or soil with even weight distribution, and using natural cover like fallen trees or shrubs can create a buffer between you and danger. Awareness also extends to the psychological impact of solitude. Darkness amplifies thoughts, magnifies fears, and challenges mental resilience. Loneliness can lead to distraction, hallucination, or impulsive decisions. Mentally preparing for hours of stillness, listening intently, and observing without reacting prematurely builds the psychological endurance necessary for survival. Knowledge of predator behavior is invaluable. Coyotes often patrol territories in patterns. Wolves may travel in packs, coordinating silently to trap or isolate prey. Even smaller nocturnal mammals react predictably to vibrations, scents, and sounds. Understanding these patterns allows humans to anticipate potential encounters and adopt strategies to avoid them or assert dominance when necessary. Improvised barriers, elevation, or creating noise at strategic moments can mislead predators, redirecting their attention or reinforcing the perception that the human is aware, alert, and capable of defending themselves. Food and water scarcity magnifies risk. Foraging at night carries inherent dangers, but careful observation of animal trails, natural water sources, and shelter options can reduce exposure to threats while sustaining necessary resources. Each decision, when to move, where to rest, how to approach a water source, is a calculation balancing immediate survival against potential danger. Night also teaches patience. Predators do not always strike immediately. They assess, wait, and probe weaknesses over time. Human survival depends on observing these assessments and responding with strategic patience, conserving energy and attention for critical moments. In essence, survival in nocturnal wilderness is a dialogue with the environment. The human is not simply moving through a passive landscape, but negotiating with living, intelligent forces. Every sound, smell, movement, and choice communicates a signal that predators read with expertise. Understanding this dialogue transforms fear into empowerment. By the end of a long night, those who endure emerge not only physically intact, but mentally attuned to the rhythms of the wild, capable of interpreting subtle signs and translating observation into decisive action. Recognizing that survival is not merely about escaping danger. It is about mastering the art of coexistence, strategy, and psychological endurance in a world that operates on instincts far older than humanity itself. The night is both enemy and teacher. It punishes mistakes harshly, but rewards preparation, observation, and discipline with lessons that resonate far beyond any single wilderness encounter, shaping the survivor into a more conscious, capable, and resilient version of themselves. Moving through water and wetlands at night introduces a whole new set of challenges, often underestimated by even experienced survivalists. Rivers, streams, and marshes are deceptively treacherous. Shallow waters can hide deep holes, mud can trap legs and equipment, and sudden drops or submerged logs can cause falls that lead to injury or even death. Every step must be deliberate, every movement considered. A rushing stream may sound harmless, but currents under the surface can sweep a person off balance in an instant, and the human body, untrained for such stealthy encounters, often reacts too slowly. Water in the wilderness is not just a resource, it is a potential threat. Wet clothing and soaked footwear sap energy, lower body temperature, and increase the risk of hypothermia. Insects like mosquitoes thrive near stagnant water, draining focus and spreading disease, while venomous snakes and other reptiles patrol banks, camouflaged, waiting for the unwary. Swamps are even more dangerous. Deceptively soft ground can turn into quicksand-like traps, where struggling can sink a person deeper, while predators such as alligators or snakes sense vibrations and movement, homing in on disturbances. Observation is critical. Learning to read water patterns, noticing where currents speed or slow, and identifying areas with solid footing is vital for safe navigation. Improvised tools, such as sturdy branches or ropes, can provide support, stabilize movement, and even act as early warning systems for nearby animals. Sound is also magnified in these environments. A splash or snap can echo across a swamp, alerting predators miles away. Silence is a survival strategy, but it must be paired with acute awareness, listening to subtle shifts in water flow, distant splashes, or the faint rustle of wings or scales. Mental resilience plays a huge role here. The mind is prone to panic in uncertain, shifting terrain, but the ability to slow breathing, focus on immediate tasks, and break navigation into small, achievable goals preserves clarity. Understanding animal behavior in wetlands adds a layer of protection. Many predators are opportunistic, moving quietly until they sense vulnerability. Tracking signs, ripples in water, disturbed mud, droppings, or footprints helps predict movement and potential threats. Survival also depends on managing resources. Crossing a swamp without preparation can deplete energy reserves quickly. Every step must balance speed, safety, and energy conservation. Hydration is critical, but so is caution. Stagnant water can contain parasites and bacteria, making purification methods essential before consumption. Improvised shelters near swamps require careful placement. Too close invites predators, too far increases exposure. Elevation and natural barriers provide safety, but camouflage and scent management are equally important. Nighttime in wetlands magnifies all these dangers. Darkness hides hazards, making each sound and movement potentially fatal. Vision is limited, so reliance on other senses becomes crucial. Touch, hearing, smell, and even intuition develop through experience-guide decision-making. Preparation can turn these dangerous environments into manageable challenges. Knowledge of the terrain, proper gear, and understanding both human limitations and animal behaviors shift the odds toward survival. Even in extreme situations, strategic thinking, observation, and patience can prevent catastrophe. Those who emerge from these wet, dark, and predator-filled landscapes do so not by luck, but by merging skill, courage, and adaptability. They understand that every step is a negotiation with nature, that survival is a continuous dialogue with unseen forces, and that mastery over fear and awareness can turn treacherous waters into another terrain conquered. By embracing both the physical and psychological demands of wetland survival, a human becomes attuned to the natural rhythm of life and danger in these hidden worlds, learning lessons that extend far beyond the swamp itself, into all aspects of wilderness survival, strategic thinking, and personal resilience. Night in the wilderness transforms the familiar into something alien. Darkness is no longer just absence of light. It becomes a veil behind which predators stalk, where every sound is amplified, and every shadow can conceal life or death. Humans are not the apex predators here, and understanding that is the first step toward survival. Animals rely on senses far more acute than ours. Wolves detect vibrations and scent trails. Coyotes move silently over frozen or wet terrain, pinpointing the smallest rustle. Nocturnal birds of prey glide almost invisibly, scanning for movement with eyes adapted to darkness. To survive, one must think like the hunted. Every step must be deliberate, each breath measured to avoid detection. Panic is the worst enemy. When fear takes over, it triggers muscle spasms, loud exhalations, and rash decisions, essentially broadcasting your presence to anything nearby. Maintaining composure is not just psychological discipline, it is a life-saving skill. Humans instinctively make noise when nervous, snapping twigs, shuffling leaves, or even breathing heavily. These small sounds can attract predators from dozens of meters away. To counter this, survivalists learn controlled movement techniques, stepping on solid ground, shifting weight slowly, distributing pressure evenly, and using natural obstacles like bushes, logs, or boulders to muffle sounds. But it is not just physical caution. The mind must remain hyper-aware of environmental cues. The faintest splash might indicate a water predator approaching. A rustle in the brush could be a large carnivore. Even changes in air currents can signal presence of animals or impending weather shifts. Each moment requires a combination of acute observation, rapid decision-making, and self-restraint. Lighting fires is a double-edged sword. Fire provides warmth, illumination, and psychological comfort, but it also acts as a beacon for predators. Strategically placed fire, small controlled flames, and using reflective surfaces instead of flames can provide safety while minimizing exposure. The human body's limitations at night also demand careful management. Eyes adjust slowly. Fatigue impairs judgment. Hypothermia or dehydration lowers reaction speed. Knowing these limitations and planning around them is critical. For example, when crossing open terrain, travel must be minimal and purposeful, using natural cover to stay unseen. Beyond immediate survival, understanding animal behavior provides a strategic advantage. Predators hunt according to patterns, time of night, wind direction, prey behavior. Tracking these patterns allows humans to anticipate danger, avoid high-risk areas, and even use deterrence. A wolf or coyote may be deterred by sudden noise, light flashes, or scent camouflage, but these tactics require knowledge and timing. Psychological survival is equally important. Isolation, darkness, and constant threat induce stress and fear. The mind can create false threats, amplifying minor sounds into imagined attacks. Training the mind to differentiate real danger from imagined fear, to remain calm under pressure, and to plan multiple steps ahead is as critical as any physical skill. Survival at night is also about preparation. Knowing the terrain, having reliable gear, carrying tools for shelter, navigation, and protection, and having strategies for emergencies. It's about creating mental maps, predicting animal behavior, and integrating these insights into movement and decision-making. Those who master night survival learn patience, observation, and adaptability. They understand that every movement carries consequences, that fear must be controlled, and that situational awareness can turn a potentially fatal night into a manageable experience. By merging physical skill, environmental knowledge, and psychological discipline, humans can survive the most hostile nights in the wilderness, transforming from prey into aware, calculating participants in the nocturnal ecosystem, understanding the delicate balance between risk and safety, and emerging at dawn, not only alive but wiser, stronger, and profoundly attuned to the rhythms of the wild, 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 to the rhythm